They naked up in here? Hello, my party people. Welcome to my channel. Well, as you know, I've been reading a whole lot lately, and I decided to get a bit of a palate cleanser for a bit and look into some graphic novels. But I wanted to look at Black graphic novels, and I was actually pretty fortunate to find some from my library. Some are a bit older and some are a bit newer. Now, I will say that the graphic novels I'm going to tell you about all feature some sort of racism that is out there. So if that is not your type of thing, then you know, these might not be for you. I will say that I did not know that before I picked these up. I want to punch these people in the friggin' throat. So let's start with this series. It is a 3-book series called Bitterroot. And it was actually pretty interesting. So Bitterroot basically is a group of graphic novels that are set during the Harlem Renaissance, you know, the 1920s time frame. And you have these monsters called Gino that are fueled by hate, greed, and, you know, just straight up evil that's just running amok around. And then there's a newer breed of monsters stemming from people's pain and sorrow, and they're popping up. And all of these monsters are infecting people and then turning them into monsters, so the numbers are just growing. So anyway, you have this family of monster hunters called the Sangir family, and they all have different ideas on how to deal with these monsters that are running around. So these books are navigating them trying to basically protect humans, fighting off the monsters, and arguing amongst themselves while trying to, you know, save Earth from these bigger forces that are trying to take over. But I did enjoy the diversity of these graphics. You had Blacks, Asians, Native Americans. I did enjoy the powerful message about how hate fuels people and people need to work together. And my favorite character is Berg. He's like this big brute guy that uses lots of complicated words. And also you have Mama Etta, who's like, you know, the big matriarch of the family, and she's one big fierce lady. But the series has a lot of violence, including lynching, and you also have like death of a lot of key characters. So I do like a comic that is not afraid to kill off key people. Now, one thing I will say is that the dates and locations in these graphics tend to jump all over the place, and the graphics do tend to be busy, so it's challenging to kind of keep up with it. But I did enjoy the storyline. Definitely really enjoy these books here. And the next book, oh y'all, this one's amazing. Okay, so this comic is called Genius. Now Genius, there's a 2-book series. I was only able to get just this one. I would love to continue it, but it's about a 17-year-old female in South Central LA that uses her intelligence and her skills to unite all of these gangs that are in the neighborhood, and then they wage this big war against the LAPD. Really violent. It's just really good book. I was just so enthralled with this, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. But I thought it was really interesting that one of the people said that the only thing that bonds enemies is when you have a new enemy, and I guess the LAPD is exactly what that is. So this basically goes to show that when people are fed up, war ensues right there on the street. But it's really violent and gritty and action-packed, and there's killing like right away. Like within the first few pages, people really bite it. Now, I like how cutthroat Destiny is. She's definitely a product of her environment and has had to make a lot of tough choices in life. And I really did enjoy this book a lot. I would love to read the second part. Anyway, really good book. Then you have Laguardia. Now Laguardia, this is Nnedi Okorafor. I did a vlog on her last month. Was it last month? This month? Anyway, I'm gonna link it below. But this is actually a sequel to one of her books that I read called The Lagoon. I truthfully had no idea. But in the Lagoon, aliens had landed in Nigeria, Africa, and they were embraced and changed the country for the better. But now they are branching out into other parts of the world as immigrants. So this book follows a pregnant Nigerian American woman who's just arrived in the US to seek safety not only for her baby, but for this alien race of flora that's like plant species. But you face, you know, immigration issues, racism, bigotry are all still running rampant, right? Because you know that don't go away. But I really felt that it was a really great alien representation to tackle the serious issues of immigration and immigration reform, which is, you know, an ever-growing problem that just keeps getting, you know, more and more complicated by the day. But I do like how this book shows that we as people overall are all more alike than we realize. And I think that the graphics were just really beautiful and colorful, and I really did enjoy the story. And then you have, oh, this is interesting. Okay, so I originally got this as one book and then realized there's two. So you have Incognegro, which is it says a graphic mystery. And then there's also Incognegro, which is Incognegro Renaissance. And these books are by the same author, of course, and they are murder mysteries set in the Harlem Renaissance around like the 1930s time frame. And it's about a journalist known as Incognegro, who is this black guy who looks white. So he goes undercover as a white man to investigate cases of crimes and brutality against black people in order to get to the truth and bring justice to those people. And to be a fly on the wall, I tell you. But this book covers the concept of passing and all the privileges, of course, that comes with, you know, being white in America. It also covers like cultural appropriation, exploitation of black culture, and it does have a queer representation, which is very good for the time. I think that it's done perfectly in black and white. You know, I was a bit put off by the whole idea of black and white at first. It does have a lot of really funny conversations as well. Now, what I think is really interesting is that the author of this book is, what's his name? Matt Johnson. He is actually a white looking guy with African ancestries, and that's what gave him the idea, because he has a set of twin sons where one looks white and one looks black. So speaks from experience. Really good books though. And you have, now this one is a YA graphic novel called Nubia. Now this is a series. I don't really know how many they are. So this is the first one. It's called Nubia Real One. Now Nubia Real One is about a super strong teen girl who is struggling to conceal this power. But when people she cares about are in danger, she decides to take action. And you learn a shocking truth about where her power comes from. Really, really good. Okay, but it is a great story. A lot of diverse characters, but really just a lot of elements. Like you got sexism, sexual assault, of course racism, police shootings, school shootings, activism, just a whole bunch of triggers in this one book and series. I was really surprised, but it really shows how heavy things are in the minds of minority kids and the things that they have to deal with. Like one of the statements in the book was what was it? Black and brown kids are not seen as kids. And also being scared while black is a death sentence. That's something really, really heavy for a kid to have to think about when they're just navigating life. But overall, I really did like this book. Another thing that I loved about it though is that it had a queer representation. Nubia had two moms. And what was cool is that it wasn't anything that was like not normal about it. So it wasn't addressed. It was just, oh, I got two moms. So I thought that was really cool. But great series if you want to continue. I think there's at least 3 books that I'm not mistaken. And you have Prince of Cats. Now, this big old book that's, you know, bigger than my head is basically an urban, more violent take on Romeo and Juliet. And it centers a whole lot more on violence and revenge than a love story. And Romeo is basically like this corny white dude that basically wants peace and love, while Tybalt, who is the main character in here, is like this aggressive black dude that just wants violence everywhere and refuses to accept anything but death. I did think that it was interesting that Tybalt is this ladies' man that's macking on Juliet, who is his cousin, by the way, and Romeo just kind of looks corny, and then somehow he gets Juliet, which is, you know, she's this, I think, Boricua girl, whatever. But anyways, lots of action, violence, and really, really bloody, and of course, huge. You do have like an iambic pentameter, like how Shakespeare wrote this book. You do have that writing in here, but it's definitely more urban in that poetic style. But worth checking out if you're interested in Romeo and Juliet, you want a unique read, and if you like, you know, poetry and Shakespeare stuff. But not my thing, but I got through it. And that is it. Definitely a whole bunch of diverse books out there. Like I said, racism is a big component in a lot of these books. So if you're not interested in, you know, those sensitive trigger topics, then stay away from these. But really good books worth checking out. So let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. So please like, subscribe, and comment, and come on back, okay? Bye, y'all.